Hey, welcome to CKLU 96.7. This is your host, Jess, with another hour of Creator Conversations presented by our creator. We're coming to you live from the studio on a rather gloomy Tuesday afternoon in Sudbury. But just, it's fair, really. I think everybody's resting right now. I don't know about you, but I had a jam-packed weekend checking out Up Here Festival. I had a great time. So I've been talking to lots of people about what they saw over the festival and what they were loving. Personally, one of my favorite performances was Charlotte Day Wilson on the Saturday night. Not somebody that I was too familiar with or anything, but showed up and ended up staying for the whole show, so I really enjoyed her set. Also, the sorority and Donzelle were really awesome at the Durham Hall upstairs on the Friday. I'm also hearing really great things. People were really excited about the mystery tour on the Sunday afternoon. That was a real blast. So if you followed us on Instagram, we made our way to all three of the stops for the mystery tour. So if you didn't make it, you could catch up there. But they brought everyone on a tour to see different performers and different locations around Sudbury, and of course, because it's up here, they were all relatively creative locations. So first stop, we went to the Grotto. We had Melody McIver there. Great outdoor performance in the middle of the afternoon. It was beautiful out. The weather was great. Then we went on to our next stop was the David Street Pump House, where we had Venetian Stairs and Joanne Pollock, their outfit Poems. So that in such a weird, creepy kind of venue, and then this kind of very like haunting melodic tone of them. So very fitting atmosphere, right? So the last stop they had was Tommy and the Commies at the Big Nickel. So again, another perfectly fitting location for a Sudbury band. So hearing them play One Arch Down right under the Big Nickel, pretty iconic. So I hope you caught that. So it was a jam-packed weekend full of all sorts of different things, and I hope you've been checking out all the murals popping up in your travels around the downtown if you didn't check them out over the weekend. Ben Johnson's one on Larch Street is definitely one of my favorites. I really, really loved that one. And I remember walking by it as he was in progress and not totally seeing where exactly he was going with it right away. And then the next day, seeing him kind of continue more, and it was just really cool seeing the evolution of the project. So really exciting. And also, if you spent any time in the downtown core, there were all the power-up boxes along the street that you could see, and the Joanna Westby's display, our mural on the Van Horn Firehouse. So lots of great things in our downtown right now. So really exciting. And if you didn't make it out down this weekend for whatever reason, definitely make your way down to take a glance around. There is this week downtown. There is a walking tour presented by, I believe it's Rainbow Routes Association. If you are interested in taking a lunch hour walking tour to check out some of the new murals, so check on Facebook to find more about that event coming up. And so it was safe to say a success. So we've heard some of the numbers have been crunched for the festival, and they're looking at something like 8,600 people through the door. So awesome year for the festival. So we can't wait to see what's going to happen next year. All right. So we had such a great time over the festival, and we spent so much time drinking our 4-ups that we decided we wanted to hear more from one of the Stack Brewery people. So we did an interview a few weeks ago with Sean Malieu from Stack Brewing. We're going to do a re-airing of that. We had some technical difficulties with the recording in order to put it on the website afterwards. So what a better excuse than now to re-air that interview. So sit tight. We're going to hear more from Sean from Stack Brewing and hear all about everything you need to know really about Stack. This week on Creator Conversations, we have Sean Mayu in from Stack Brewery. So we're going to talk about all sorts of suds and hops and everything else you can think of. So Sean, let's start at the beginning. So Stack opened its doors in 2013, continuing a long line of Northern Ontario and Sudbury specifically breweries in our area. So what did you set out to do that was a little bit different from your predecessors?
Well, craft beer, like, the modern day craft beer versus brewing beer. in the past. We incorporate a lot of different things. There's kind of like, we don't really abide by a lot of rules. Like, we work with fruit, we work with different styles of beer, and it's kind of like, because the craft beer drinkers now want variety, and they want something revolving that's new all the time. So we kind of follow that lead.
Mm-hmm. So now you kind of mentioned experimenting with different brews, but you guys do a lot of different, very Sudbury specific ones, like Valley Girl or Saturday Night La Cloche. But you also get a little more creative. You've got ones like the Grano Picante, one that had a blueberry lager with hot sauce, vanilla chai. So you're definitely not afraid of experimenting. Where'd you come up with these kind of ideas?
While drinking other people's beer, looking at other food products and see, like, Grano Picante, like, looking at how coffee and hot peppers go together, and they marry really well. And so taking things from other, like, maybe food, the food world, and kind of try and bringing it to the beer world and see if it works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Now talk to us about collaborating with other community businesses. I know for the Grano Picante you're using Old Rock coffee beans, as well for the blueberry lager that we already talked about, you're using Thunder Bay based hot sauce manufacturer. So is that something that's important to you, to collaborate with other?
Yeah, the hot sauce is not, we don't use the hot sauce in the beer.
That's the whole point of the blueberry lager.
No, we made the blueberry lager because we received the hot sauce from Thunder Bay, and because we got that blueberry hot sauce, and we're like, hey, let's make a blueberry lager. So if a customer comes in and wants to buy the blueberry hot sauce, and we can say, hey, by the way, we have this blueberry lager as well, you might want to pick up, right, if they're like blueberry fans, right? And so we just kind of threw that together just to kind of complement the hot sauce that we got in from Thunder Bay. Yeah, and then just a lot of it's experimental. Some things we can do that's Sudbury based, and some things we can't do that's Sudbury based, like Grano Picante, coming up with non-Sudbury names. So yeah, it's just it's all fun.
Mm-hmm. So Peppers is one of the brews that you guys are obviously well known for putting together. It's famously featured in the Sudbury-based show Letterkenny. So when you're tackling creating something like this that's already kind of exists fictionally on TV, where did you kind of go with wanting to make sure it was going to be the right experience for the fans of the show?
Yeah, just working with the producer and the Letterkenny crew, and working with them to come up with what beer they wanted, and then working with them and our graphics people to kind of generate a package and something that they're happy with, because they've worked really hard to establish their brand. Same with us. So just trying to please everyone and make everyone happy. And it's been a fun project to kind of work on a project that involves someone else, and famous TV show type thing, which changes, makes things interesting for us, and it changes up our normal grind and routine. Mm-hmm.
Now, Microbrew Festival has been a huge success and something you guys have been working on for a few years now. So bringing all sorts of hops enthusiasts from across Northern Ontario to sample a bevy of beverages. Mm-hmm. So what's in the works for this year?
Just the same old coming up, bringing different beers. We always try to create something new and different for people as well, because a lot of when we stay kind of in this area, a lot of the people that attend these things are normal customers, and they come in here. So we always have to try to kind of do something a little different just to engage them. And like I alluded to before, craft beer drinkers want something new. So it's just always having something at least one thing that's different that gives someone that's always had our beer. So yeah, just trying to do something new. What it is, I have no idea yet, and we'll figure it out.
No spoilers here. Now, part of the festival every year is a homebrew competition, and the winner gets a chance to make a full production batch in Stack Brewery. So can you tell us about the winner from the last festival?
Yeah, so every year we do just kind of, again, to engage the brewing community. kind of do something for them and kind of promote home brewers and what they do in their garages and basements, and try to get them to brew more beer as well, because and it's also fun for us to try different beer creations and see what else is out there. And so it's cool for us because we love beer here, so we get to see all these submissions and people brewing weird and wonderful things. And we pick a winner, and they get the chance to brew professionally, and so they get a kick out of it, and they get to spend one day here with us, and then they go back to their normal jobs and lives, and wish and thank God that they're not part of the brewing industry. It's only a hobby.
So who was the winner for the festival that just passed?
What was his name, Ashley, again?
Sheridan.
James Sheridan.
Okay, so tell me about his creation
another
here.
from Thunder Bay. North Bay. So it's North Bay is a strong brewing community, and they brew a lot of good beer. So we're just always encouraging and challenging Sudburyans to kind of dethrone the North Bay people. But James brewed a British Golden Ale. We called it Her Majesty's Pleasure. It was an excellent brew. People enjoyed it. We enjoyed it here at the brewery, and we get to brew something a little different too during this homebrew competition. So we like it as well.
Mm-hmm. So for all those beer enthusiasts out there, brewery tours have always been kind of like an occasional thing you could sometimes catch, but now you're launching every Saturday. There's 3 chances to do a pint and a tour. So what can people coming for a tour expect to learn?
Yeah, we get a lot of requests for tours. We're not really set up like some of the larger, more established breweries where they have tour people and they just and that's their job. So we get a lot of requests. So it's kind of like, how do we take this demand that we're getting in terms of tours and kind of formalize it and structure it and make it kind of like a set time. So then we have someone available to offer the tours. So the tours, they get a 12-ounce sample of beer if they choose, and we just talk about the brewing process, what it takes to brew beer, look at the equipment, and answer questions that they have in a nice, relaxed environment.
Mm-hmm. So now looking forward ahead, I believe it's August 25th, you guys have an event coming up, Beef Stack with Verdicchio. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us more about that and what it's all about?
Yeah, cooking half a cow and pairing it with our beer. So it's a kind of an event that they've been working with my event planner here to kind of coordinate and do. And I believe it's a ticketed event through Verdicchio's, and we'll have someone on site to talk about beer and do the beer pairing. And it's kind of an interesting thing, like cooking half a cow and pairing it with beer.
Yeah. It sounds like a good deal. So you just celebrated 5 years earlier this summer with your big Burgergeddon event. So what's changed in 5 years? What's on the horizons for you?
In the last 5 years, pretty much everything has changed. Eventually, at one point.
Let me give you a short list.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think you have enough time or the battery power on the recorder to go through everything. But just in terms of making more beer, figuring out distribution, sales, all that stuff. Really, brewing of the beer is a small part of the business. Then there's the sales, marketing, kind of planning, cleaning, and all that stuff that the non-glamorous stuff that people don't see. But on the horizon, hopefully, perhaps, maybe moving the main production facility to somewhere else, expand on the tourism and tour part and hosting. So hopefully that's the goal for us.
Excellent. All right. So if I walked into the retail shop today and was like, I'm looking for a 6-pack, an assorted 6-pack, what would you put in that assorted 6-pack?
Well, it would depend. I'd kind of try to figure you out and read your mind and probe you with questions in terms of do you like lighter beers? Do you drink more like golden beers? Are they 4, 5, 6, 7%? Because some people only want light beers, 4%. So I'm not going to offer them something that's 8. So I kind of look. Are you looking for something with hops? Are you more crisp and refreshing without the nice floral hops? Or so it's kind of like myself would be more of an IPA 6-pack just because I like those. But yeah, kind of talk to the customers, see what they normally drink, and then kind of use our comparables to what they normally drink if it's a first time into our shop, and kind of almost bespoke 6-pack in terms of what do they normally drink to what we have.
Yeah, excellent. All right, so we're going to cut into some music here, and then we'll be back very shortly to talk more with Sean.
Hey there, welcome back to CKLU 96.7. This is your host Jess from Creator Conversations. So this hour we have been talking with Sean Malou from Stack Brewery. So he is the founder of the famous local brewery here. So lots of different things they have coming out. If you're at Up Here Festival this weekend, you might have gotten to sample 4 Up, which was their limited one weekend only brew that they did for the festival. They've been doing that for a couple of years now, 4 years to be exact. They also have all sorts of different ones they're experimenting with all year round, so you can check in there and see what they've got anytime. So lots of exciting things they've got going on all the time over at Stack. So there are plenty of other fun things to look forward to in Sudbury over the next coming weeks. So this weekend coming up, we have Sudbury Poutine Fest. So that's going on from Friday. That's coming up on the 24th, 25th, 26th. So they have live music, all sorts of different poutine for you to try at Bell Park. So if you're looking for something really greasy and delicious to do this weekend, I suggest you check that out. Weekend following that is also Rib Fest. So that's a long weekend before school starts, presumably. All sorts of ribs. You know what it's about. There'll be live music. There'll be all sorts of fun stuff like that. So definitely something to check out. So we're going to go into our first segment of music here. So we've got a few acts that are going to be coming through Sudbury soon. So first up, we have Jennifer Holub. So she has a brand new album that is coming up October 19th. So she is also the same night going to be having an album release party at the Moose Lodge that you can check out with the Apets. So don't miss that show if that's something that you're in the mood for. We've also got coming up after that, Elliot Brood. He'll be performing at the Townhouse September 18th, as well as the Great Lakes Swimmers. So they'll be performing as well September 21st. So our lineup for that is Island, which is the first release from The Reckoning, Jennifer Holub's forthcoming album. It's going to be released on September 28th with the album release party on October 19th. So Island, make sure you check out that music video as well. Really powerful message about Time's Up movement. So there's Island by Jennifer Holub, Till the Sun Comes Up by Elliot Brood, and Alone But Not Alone by the Great Lakes Swimmers.
Thanks for tuning in to Creator Conversations presented by Our Creator. We can't play the music right here, but check out below for the link to this week's playlist, as well as all the links you need for this week's guest. Make sure you're subscribed to Our Creator on all your feeds. Look us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under Our Creator, and use the hashtag Our Creator to be featured.
Hey, welcome back to CKLU 96.7. This is your host, Jess, from Our Creator. So Our Creator, if you've perhaps this is the first time you've tuned into the show, ourcreator.com is your source for all news and entertainment in the Sudbury area. So we are a volunteer group of folks who try our best to get content to you about what things are happening in our community. So what events you should know about, different businesses or Sudburyans or makers that we think that you should check out. So we've got all sorts of different content that goes up on our site all the time. So a few things that we have up on the site right now. So we just posted this week the latest edition of our Maker Monday series. So this one features Alfie and Iris, who make these adorable little bows and hair clips and stuff like that for youngsters. So that was pretty awesome. As well, this weekend we brought back for the first time, we used to do when we first started weekly roundups of different events. And, we felt like maybe there were better things that we could, ways that we could distribute our time on different content. But we heard back from some feedback from some folks, and it turns out you guys love it. So we're going to bring those back in a different way that's a little more manageable. So we started for the first weekend. We're doing 5 events you need to check out this weekend. So we had lots of information about different things to make sure that you had things to do this weekend. We also have on our homepage, we posted an article before Up Here Festival with our top theories for their mystery tour, which were all wrong, but that's okay. It's still fun to read. We've also got lots of updates for our Creator Conversation past episodes. So if you look on the site, we've got our update from our interview from Yes Theater about their summer festival, which is going on right now. So at the time of the interview, it was only scheduled to go until the 19th, and it has officially been extended. So you can check out their productions of Violet and Merrily We Roll Along until the 26th. So Violet, I've already seen myself. Violet, it was a beautiful show. Boy, that Janie, she must be dehydrated after every performance, I feel. So Janie Pinard, of course, playing the title character Violet in the show. Merrily We Roll Along, I have not seen yet, but I am going this evening to see the show. And if you're listening live right now, you should definitely think about going yourself. The show is 8 o'clock tonight, and tonight is a pay what you can afford performance, so that means you can pay select any of their ticket options, ranging from $5 to $35 to full price, depending on what you feel like you can afford. Yes Theater really wants to help try to make theater accessible to everyone to enjoy, and they're both great stories about friendship and about about growth, to check out. So something really to look out for. We've also got an update of where your dogs can swim in the Sudbury area. A few more updates on our Creator Conversation episodes. One interview we did with the guys from Magic Pelvis. Another interview we did a while ago with John McHenry from the Sudbury Theatre Centre, as well as Fear Take Pride Sudbury. So lots of content for you to catch up on if you are looking for something to listen to perhaps this evening while it's a little bit drizzly. So this hour we have been talking with Sean Malou from Stack Brewing. So in our first half, we talked a lot about how Stack got started and what things they have coming up in the Microbrew Festival and their different brews and stuff like that. So this half is a little bit more personal, so we're going to talk a little more about his background in beer, his background outside of beer, some of his favorites as well. So listen in.
All right, we are back for our second half of our hour here for Creator Conversations. Today we are talking with Sean Malou from Stack Brewery. So Sean, you might be hard to remember, but before Stack, there was a day before Stack. What were you doing?
I was a teacher.
You were a teacher?
Yeah.
So what made you want to make the jump over to something a little bit different?
Yeah, well, I had a love for craft beer when kind of was the brewery was being conceived and the idea is being conceived. There wasn't any other breweries in this area. There was definitely nothing in Sudbury, nothing in North Bay, Timmins, Sioux, Manitoulin Island, Parry Sound, and now there's breweries there, right? But back then there was nothing in Northern Ontario, so it was definitely a need for it because everywhere else people had craft breweries and beer and stuff like that. In this area, even in the LCBO, this area is greatly underserviced. A lot of the craft beer that's in the market doesn't make its way to Sudbury. So I was looking for something to do business-wise. I loved craft beer, so there's an opportunity, there's a love for something. So usually when those two things go together, chances of success are a little greater. Mm-hmm. So I gave it a whirl and decided to launch myself in this world to see what happens.
What a risk.
Yeah, exactly, right? But literally it's like, they say it's like you're jumping off a cliff when you launch into something like that, and that's what it felt like when you kind of sign the documents and you're signing your life away. It essentially feels like you're jumping off a cliff.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, it's probably pretty accurate. Yeah. Now, leaving your education career and then moving over into owning your own business and starting all this, do you feel like there were any kind of transferable skills that helped you
Yeah, like a teacher. Like a teacher is a good manager because they need to manage the classroom, and so they need good management skills, good interpersonal skills with colleagues, timelines, tracking, documenting. So they do that on a daily basis, and that's transferable to owning a small business where you have to manage, document, create, and think on the spot and problem solve, which is all transferable skills I was able to bring from teaching into the business world.
Excellent. Yeah. So for you, chicken or the egg, what came first, the love for beer or the love for brewing?
Definitely beer. I like to create. I have an artistic side as well, so I like to create things. So it kind of, and I love beer, so it kind of solves those two things.
I love beer. How can I take this further?
Yeah. Like the marketing side, the graphics. Like you have to create a beer, but then you also need to create a package that entices and that the person the first point of sale is is the people don't drink the beer, they see it, they see the package, they see the can, they see the brand. So that's the first thing, and so to attract someone, and then they taste the beer. So it's kind of everything has to go together in terms to be successful in terms of sales and survive as a business, because most businesses don't survive 5 years, right?
Yeah. So you're here. You've made it. So do you remember the first beer you ever attempted to brew yourself?
I've never brewed beer by myself. No, I've always helped out. I have a love of business, and I have a love of creation, and I love of formulating the recipe. But to start from start to finish, I've always helped out, but never done it solo. No. I've hired people to brew for me.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of, so I like kind of formulating the plan, and this is A and I want to get to B, and this is what B is going to look like. Help me get there, and kind of like that in terms of the beer, in terms of the marketing and packaging and stuff like that.
Yeah. So as of December, Stack just crossed the line of 1,000 batches back then.
Technically 1,000? We brewed more than that.
Yeah.
So it's 1,000 kind of fermenters of beer, but like our 30s down there, we have to brew 2 batches into it. So and then when we first launched, we had to brew many batches because our brew system was smaller than our fermenters. But there's my phone. There we go. I'll turn this off. So technically, kind of we brewed more batches, but we fermented 1,000. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is a milestone.
Which is a huge milestone,
huge
for
milestone,
sure. Yeah. So with all the experimenting that's gone on, all the different kinds of beers you've come up with, have there been any ones that just completely missed the boat?
100%, all the time. All the time. Yeah, some beer recipes, like you kind of formulate the idea, like I was mentioning earlier, and you try it. You take something from another world, and you kind of try to bring it into the beer world. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Or like our latest one, the raspberry milkshake IPA. Found another thing I thought it would be kind of cool to do, and then getting raspberry to play well with certain hops proved quite difficult, and that one took probably 7-8 test batches to kind of
find one that works,
to find something that works, and to kind of marry the flavors together. So sometimes, whereas the mango milkshake IPA was 1 test batch and it worked. So some flavors work really well, some don't. So it's kind of a crapshoot sometimes, and sometimes it takes a lot of work. Like our pumpkin porter too, that we do in October, that was quite difficult to come up with that recipe. Playing around with different spices and stuff like that. Yeah, so some are really difficult, and you almost hate them at the end when you finally get it, because you've spent so much time and money and effort to try to get it right, and now you just want to get rid of it because it was so much effort. But it's always fun though.
Yeah, it's always fun to experiment, right? Right, so let's say there are no limits, you can make anything you want. Is there any kind of a bucket list beer that you would love to experiment with?
In terms of beer, yeah, it wouldn't be, I'd work more with sours just because, we don't, I really enjoy sour beers, barrel aging. We just don't have the room to do a lot of that right now in the brewery. So I'd like to kind of experiment and work more with barrel aging and stuff. We just don't have the room, right? Mm-hmm. Any other beer we can whip together. We've probably done over 100 different styles of beer since we've been open. So that's pretty easy. But to work more with barrel aging and play around with that kind of stuff, just because it would be nice, because we rarely get a chance to do that stuff, so just because of space and time. So it'd be nice to experiment more with that stuff.
Yeah. What's the difference between a beer and a sour?
Well, a sour beer, let's say their beer, we've fermented it, we transfer it to the bright tank, and so off the bright tank we'll keg or package the beer, cans, bottles, whatever, and in kegs. Sometimes we'll take some of that beer and we'll put it into a wine barrel that we got from the Niagara region, and then in that wine barrel we'll add Brettanomyces, lactobacillus, some wild yeast and bacteria. Sometimes we'll add some fruit to it. One time we had a bunch of Niagara cherries and other Niagara peaches. We combined 72. I think we put Brettanomyces with 72 and Niagara peaches. And we called it just freaking peachy. And we added cherries to Portland Fayad in a barrel and let it age, and so the lactobacillus and Brettanomyces and those bugs, they slowly work over 8 to 10 months to keep on eating some of the complex carbohydrates and other things that are left over from the fermentation process, and they'll slowly consume it. They'll sour the beer, make it tart, lowering its pH to give it that tartness, and produce some nice, weird, funky flavors and then you draw the flavors from the oak as well. So depending on what oak and barrel it is, you'll get different vanilla oak components from the wood. So it adds a little bit of depth and complexity to the beer.
Yeah, so when you say that you don't have enough space for it, it's like, I don't have enough space for it, and it's going to be here for 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so all the sours that people come in our shop to buy in bottles have been aged 8-10 months.
Wow.
To make, yeah.
Wow. All right, so we've talked obviously a lot about Stack this hour, which is great. But are there any other Northern Ontario breweries that you think that Sudburyans should keep an eye out for?
Northern Ontario breweries keeping up. There's one, Graham, 46 North down the street from me here on Kelly Lake. He's a customer of ours, so I got to give him a shout out, right? Because he comes in and buys our beer, and he was here yesterday talking with me and chatting me up, and so just always same thing, in the restaurant and bar industry, I'll support. Be loyal like a dog to people who support me, and that's just how I am. So if someone supports me, I always have to give them a shout out.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so let's get into a few of your Sudbury favorites here. So where is your favorite spot in Sudbury to enjoy a pint? Good clients of mine, Hard Rock, Laughing Buddha, that carry kind of some of our craftier stuff, because I kind of make and sample beer all day. So I don't mind drinking kind of our mainstream beers, but I also want to drink, if I'm going to go out and have a pint, I kind of want to drink more of our craftier one-off stuff, and so I'll probably go to a place that serves more craftier one-off stuff than our mainstream. Whereas just because I'm a little, I don't want to say crappier snob, but
my palate's looking for more of the different weird stuff. Right?
You've learned a little bit too much, and now you can't just go with like the average stuff.
Yeah,
you know.
But if I'm having a sauna, I'll have something that's like 4 or 5%, easy drinking. but if I'm gonna go out and have one beer, and it'll have to be something one-off, kind of crafty and weird kind of thing. Yeah.
But are you having a sauna or a sauna?
Yes. Yeah, the Finnish people are gonna
they're gonna be mad. Yeah. Oh man, do you have a favorite dish in Sudbury? A favorite food item?
That's a tough one. Yeah, my secretary didn't prep me for that question.
I wasn't told. Secretary.
Hey, see, I'm going to give you some editing to do there. What I enjoy, what I typically go get some for lunch. They don't sell like a lot of crafty beer, but I always like taking a little bit of Mai Tai takeout for lunch. If I go out and have a takeout, I like Mai Tai, just a little bit of spice, or Sizzle Mongolian Grill.
I've never been there.
Yeah, and take out, do a little stir fry. But yeah, if I'm gonna go out for lunch, I like maybe a little bit of heat. But then I always come back here to have if I'm gonna have a beer at lunch, I'll
You're like, I'm coming back.
Yeah, I'll come back. I don't need anything to drink because I got a pretty good cellar of beer here.
Yeah, and you don't want to drive home after you had that, drive back to work after you've had that beer,
exactly.
Right? Responsible choices. All right.
100%.
Okay, Sean, so let's finish things out here. I want to know, what are a few of your favorite drinking songs?
I don't have drinking songs. I was prepped on that question. Like, Sean, you got to come up with what songs you drink beer to. And I'm drawing a serious blank. I do not if a song. I just can't think of a favorite drinking song.
Oh man.
I know. All right, I'm sorry. That's the only. You stumped me on that one. I don't have a favorite drinking song to. Usually, if I'm having a beer, it's going to be at night once the kids have settled down and they're going to bed, and it'll just be Netflix or YouTube. I live a boring life.
All right, we'll just play 10 minutes of whatever I'm watching on Netflix right now. Play 10 minutes of Arrested Development, maybe Forensic Files. I don't know what kind of I'm watching.
In terms of music, I like all music, like hip hop, folk, just like anything rock. It doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, classic 80s. I play like a lot of 80s or reggae in the brewery, so it's kind of, I don't know.
Oh man.
Yeah, it is a very wide scope of music interest, but in terms of favorite drinking song,
just couldn't think of one, man.
No.
Too many favorites.
Yeah. If it's tied into your next playlist, then I don't know. Play Bob Marley, Rancid, and Biggie Smalls.
All right, we can do that. The perfect example of a Stafford playlist. All right, thanks, Sean. So we're going to be right up with something to do with this playlist, some sort of a playlist here. And remember, next time you are out looking for something nice to drink, grab a stack.
Excellent, thank you.
Hey there, welcome back to CKLU 96.7. So we had a great chat with Sean, learned so much about Stack and everything they do, and lots of fun little tidbits about beer that we never really thought about before. So pretty exciting. So he gave us a bit of marching orders here to go into a playlist. So we are going to definitely run out of time before we finish the last song. So let's just jump right into it here. So we're going to have Juicy by Notorious B.I.G., Three Little Birds by Bob Marley, and Time Bomb by Rancid. First song up here, there is an explicit label on, so change the channel if you have to.
Thanks for tuning in to Creator Conversations presented by Our Creator. We can't play the music right here, but check out below for the link to this week's playlist, as well as all the links you need for this week's guest. Make sure you're subscribed to Our Creator on all your feeds. Look us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under Our Creator, and use the hashtag Our Creator to be featured.
All right, welcome back to CKLU. That's all we have time for today. This hour we have been talking with Sean Melue from Stack Brewing. So definitely check out Stack's selection if you are looking for something to drink over the weekend or any of the night of the week. Really, we don't judge here. We got all sorts of information from him, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for more details as they come available for Northern Ontario Microbrew Festival coming up in the springtime, or actually no, more like winter time. So we will have lots more coming up, so make sure you follow our creator on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, to make sure you're updated with everything that's going on in your city, as well. Check back for past episodes of Creator Conversations if you haven't caught up yet. We'll have our interview that we did recently as well with Meg Kant from Northern Mama coming out very soon, so you can keep your eyes peeled for that. In the meantime, sit tight. We're going to turn over things to Steve for 6 Degrees.